Hey everyone, and today, which was the 5th of June, we had Roy Chronica and Ruby from ArenaNet talking about Ventari and talking about this legend and all the skills, the traits and the utilities. So what we're going to do is, I've cut the video up short so we can basically talk about these weapon skills and talk about them maybe a little bit differently, because you can see on the screen, of course, all the different abilities and what they can do. The first ability was very nice indeed, over on the staff. Now the staff is the new weapon that is going to be available to the Revenant itself. Of course, these weapon sets are not just, you know, if you go for Ventari you should use this, that, the other, but, you know, probably this would be the best weapon set for Ventari, to be honest, because it is very supportive. Something on this first attack that does come up is the fact that on the third hit of this weapon, you actually put down little orbs, which you can see on the screen at the moment, which you can run over to heal yourself. You know, that's probably not just for you. You can actually use that for your allies as well. So if you're, you know, face on attacking someone, then you can actually run around with your buddies and grab some of these healings, some of these healing droplets or whatever the hell they're called on the floor. I don't know what else to call them. I mean, I can't remember what you called them actually, just thinking about it. I didn't actually write down anything about that in my notes, unfortunately. So they just showed us continually what's going on with this class and all the abilities, and they gave us a lot of video as well to look at and to talk about, and it's pretty nice. You can see all on the right hand side, they've actually done this nice little bit of work here on the side where you can see the different just the different skill tooltips as well, which is pretty good. Second ability was actually quite nice as well. So it's called Punishing Sweep, but then if you interrupt a foe, so if them performing an ability, you get this effect called Debilitating Slam, which is a flip over effect, Roy said, and basically you can see on the tooltip there what it does, and it inflicts that weakness and a bit of damage as well. So there's extra cause to actually make sure. He said it was punishing your opponents for attacking you because you're kind of a pacifist, you know, because you're a healing support, so you don't really believe in fighting, I guess, but it's a good way to bring that kind of lore in, I suppose, and that kind of thing with the supportive healer type. You know, I'm going to punish you for attacking me because you shouldn't be, because I'm a healer type dude. So that's quite good, actually. That's quite an interesting way of looking at this class and punishing people and trying to get people to interrupt even more. So that's a good way. Like in PvP, you want to try and interrupt a little bit more so you can get that extra weakness and damage off, which is very good. But it's also an AoE attack on that debilitating slam as well, so it's pretty useful. Again, there's tons of action as well in this video in terms of the actual amount of skills they're showing you and the way you can use it, and they spoke a lot about these abilities as this video goes on, of course. But we're going to go on to the third ability now. So we're going to go on to the third skill. It's actually called Warding Rift. Now this is it. You can see the staff spinning around is like an attack, but it's almost to a degree reflecting. Okay, it's taking in the projectiles that are coming into you and in a way putting them back into your opponent. I'm not sure whether or not there's just a standard amount of projectiles that just come out while someone attacking you, or if it's just going to be the amount of projectiles just thrown back when you have this ability. So that's like a mist portal, he said, and it throws back these projectiles into their face, and it's a good way of actually defending your allies. So if you're in front or behind or whatever, you can kind of use this to, you know, move forward or to actually retreat in quite a nice way, especially in PvP or World v World. And also it gives off that nice blind as well, and the number of targets, of course, that you can hit is going to be free. So it's a pretty nice ability. It looks awesome as well. They were saying that it's a new animation which has really been developed, and a new animation which they created, so they've made so much effort with this Revenant. And you can see, I guess that means that in future they'll be changing animations and bringing new animations in as well, because you've seen in previous classes, of course, that have been mentioned and whatnot, there are very similar animations between things like, you know, the Dragon Hunter, the kind of Arrow Barrage. I can't remember what it's called. It was very similar to the, you know, the Ranger one. So, you know, there's similar animations there, but they're still bringing in some new animations as well, which is awesome. We're going to go over to the fourth ability now on the staff. I mean, this next ability is pretty simple. You put down a wave which actually removes conditions. It says removed conditions is 2, which is actually quite a lot. So, you know, that's a good condition removal for yourself and also for your allies. And it also does some healing. So the base healing you can see is 1.5, just under 1.6k. I don't know what stats he's using, so obviously we're not too sure what that number is based on, I guess, but that is going to be the base heal that he currently has, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty easy to explain, you know, the animation is quite nice. It does plant you in position, so you can't move while that's happening, so you could, you know, it's kind of easy to look at that animation and think, right, he's going for Condi removal with heal, time to interrupt that guy. I'm talking in terms of PvP, you know, and World v World, things like that. So, you know, in PvE, it's not something which you have to really worry about. You know the boss fights and stuff, so you'll be thinking, okay, I can use this now, I can definitely remove conditions, and I'm going to be safe because I'm going to be planted in this position. Okay, so let's go on to the final staff skill. Now, this is probably my favourite ability on the staff, and I think Roy was saying that as well. So Surge of the Mist is basically a charge forward. You can see, it's not, I don't really need to explain it that much because it just does what it says on the tin. You surge forward and you knock back everyone that's in your way. It's awesome. And it says number of targets is going to be 3. How many people get knocked back there? That's more. I mean, I'm not sure how that works. I mean, I think it just knocks back a ton of people on the way. Maybe the damage is on 3 people. I didn't really think about that when I was actually going to plan this video, so it's very interesting to see that. But it is, you know, it's pretty awesome. I mean, look at that. You can use that to retreat. You can use that just in terms of mobility in PvP as well. Imagine in World v World, if you've got like 2 or 3 Revenants with this staff in Ventari, and also with the Legendary Dwarf stance, and you're just, you know, you've got, you know, the elite from Legendary Dwarf up, you've got like 10 seconds of that protectiveness from that elite, and then you just charge forward with your staff like that, you know, you can take in so much burst damage and protect yourself, especially knocking people down and really dispersing them. Whether or not that's going to be useful in terms of, you know, coordinating your burst on an area, hey-ho, but it's going to be great if you're in PvP and you're trying to interrupt someone going for a down, if you've got that, you know, that, just availability of CC and knockback. That's really good. That means things like stability are going to have to be used, and considerable amount of dodge as well. That's going to use a lot of dodges up, having that ability as well. So that was the staff, and now we're going to go over to the tablet. Now, the tablet in my previous video, I told you, was basically what the utilities and the elite are based around. It's this tablet. It's from the lore within Ventari. I'm not going to lie, I don't know squat about the lore of Ventari, but he's got a tablet and it's very useful. There you go. I'm not going to pretend I know things that I don't, but I do enjoy the story in Guild Wars 2, so, you know, it's kind of relevant. He said also, some interesting facts about this, was the fact that the tablet actually lights up every single time you use it with a different phrase. And at the moment he's showing you with your heal skill 6, with your, there you go, sorry, the heal skill, you summon it and then you can reposition it, so you can target on the floor and move the tablet. So moving the tablet is going to be very important to support your allies, and also, you know, in terms of the different utilities which we're going to talk about as we go through, it's very useful. Look at that movement that you can do with this thing. You can put it, I mean, you can run out of range and it will desummon it, but I'm not sure what the range of that actually is. And you can see on the tooltips in the bottom, in the top right hand corner, exactly what it does as well. And with traits, which we're going to go through in a bit, you can actually spec it to regen while it's permanently up. So even if you're not using it at all and it's in the area, it's going to pulse this regen boon if you do trait it, of course. So we're going to start going through the actual utilities now for this, and yeah, it's pretty exciting and a different thing to use, like basing your utilities around one sole thing which you're moving around. So it's like you got to think about yourself and think about this tablet as well. So that's why, you know, the abilities of your staff are going to be quite important. I wonder if this thing can be destroyed as well. So the first ability, which you can see on your screen, is going to be the Protective Solace. Now, this is going to be, it's a pretty nice ability because it just gives you that shield. What he did say, actually, which is very important and very key to remember, is the fact that, you know, if you've got these up, you can see the energy just where the legends are when you legend swap goes down quite quickly. It's a toggle. So you got to be careful. You got to energy manage your skills, because otherwise you can't even use your staff skills if you've got no energy. Remember, Revenant uses energy for all the skills you actually use as well. So you can't just perma spam this, even though there's not many big cooldowns on this, on the Revenant with legends and whatnot. There is some. You know, you've got to be careful with that energy management. But this ability, look, and you can move the tablet around as well, which is even better. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to using this in future, that's for sure. Just in case you weren't reading the actual tooltip, it does destroy incoming projectiles, which is very much like the shield 5 on the Guardian, and also the knockback when you do the res on the shield, on the res on the Guardian as well if traded. So very, very useful skill indeed. So with Natural Harmony, which is the next utility skill, it's a heal, which is a delayed heal, which is what Roy called it. And he said what he actually explained was in terms of PvP actually being good, because you know when you do some long casted things, you actually use line of sight to cast it, and so you can actually surprise your enemy by using it, an ability, and actually pulling it off. Things like a magnet pull from an engineer, you know, you channel that up out of line of sight, having your target up, of course, so they can't really see you coming, and then the animation does pop up, but it's less obvious to them to actually dodge it. So in a way this is kind of similar, because you can charge it, so you press it, and then in 1.5 seconds, he said, it does pulse a heal. So you can see here he's kind of charging it, then moving it, and it'll heal when, you know, on the way or when it stops or whatever. So it's actually pretty useful in terms of charging it without being in the fight, and then putting it right in there and giving it a bit of a heal off. I like that ability. Again, you know, there's a lot of play with this tablet, but then you've got to worry about your own movement as well. So you might be off to the side, you might be at the back. You're going to have to watch out for your positioning and also your usage of your energy once again, which is going to be quite challenging but very exciting. Next ability will be Purifying Essence. So you can see on screen it says removing conditions from allies near the tablet and heal them for a small amount per condition removed. Kind of obvious. Don't really need to explain too much about that. The animation's nice, it's not too intrusive. The number of conditions removed is 3, which is very powerful. I mean, how much energy that takes up. Blimey, you can see on the bar as well. Let's just see how much energy. It doesn't take up any energy, because you can't actually, he's not really removing any conditions there, other than the one on himself, and it's not actually using up that much energy, which is very interesting. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it probably isn't that much, but if you sit there spamming remove conditions all the time, I don't know, that's pretty useful to me, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how good that's going to be. I mean, AoE, that's 5 targets, of course, that's you and your allies, and you do some healing as well while you're actually using that. That's very powerful. That is a very powerful utility to have, not being an elite as well. I mean, I know it's only 3 conditions, but still, that's pretty good. I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see. In team fights and World v World, you know, that's going to be great for removing some really, really horrible conditions where your team is just like, you know, you can send your tablet off over to the side, remove a ton of conditions on maybe your foes, or sorry, on your allies, to just help you out there. As you can see, then we're going to move on to the elite skill. This skill is... it's called Energy Expulsion, and this is going to force energy to erupt from the tablet, knocking back nearby foes and leaving behind energy fragments that can heal allies. Pretty obvious, you know, it just knocks back. I mean, that is actually really good. That knockback and then dropping the heals is going to be quite nice in terms of rezzing. So imagine like you're in PvP and the guy goes down, you can just put knockback over, you know, you can put your tablet in, you don't have to risk yourself, and you can just channel that and then res your ally and then run around and grab these little things, these shards to heal up. And also you can just do that on a point. If you guys need like emergency healing, it's like, you know, an engineer throwing out a supply crate worth of kits. Okay, we haven't got the stun you haven't got the stun, but you've got a massive knockback. So it's like a supply crate, but a little bit more available with no cooldown. Does use up a lot of energy though, but you know, it just builds up very quickly. You can see the elite there. It does come up, and it's not massively energy again, like how much energy it uses up. Again, these numbers are kind of not massively important at the moment, because they'll put more info into the game and give us more info in the future, of course. Okay, so now it is trait time. You can see that the trait line is going to be called Salvation, and that is what the Ventari is going to use as that trait line is going to be assigned to that legend pretty much. It's very supportive, it's very healy. You can see he's going to be going through these traits now, and there's different traits which I talked about a little bit during the staff skills and utility skills, not much, but here you can see exactly what they're going to be. I'll talk about them, kind of pick up bits and pieces as he picks it up, but you can see there's a blind there which is going to be good. Again, it's like the punishment of someone attacking you, and while you attack them, you get that when you use an attack and you not interrupt it, but hit them while you're trying to hit them, you get a blind off, which is going to be very nice. So we're going to go on to the next trait very shortly. They were talking a lot about these very in-depthly now, which is very, very good, of course. This is what I was talking about before. So you grant regeneration to allies while near the actual tablet itself, so that's obviously very powerful in itself. So all in all, that skill is going to be very useful to have if traded. Will be probably quite strong as well if you have it in a party where you need to do a lot of healing. So next skill, Blinding Truth. So nearby foes will be blinded when you use a healing skill. That's going to be a considerable amount, considering you have a lot of heals. So that's of course next outgoing attack will be missed, of course, and that's going to be on 5 enemies. And then the next one is going to be, so when you're over the healing threshold, you will do a ton of extra healing. So that tranquil balance is going to be very useful. You're going to need to be, the effectiveness is going to be 20%. So when you're over 90% health, you do 20% more healing effectiveness, which is actually really, really great. We're going to go over to the minor trait now, so Hardened Foundation. So you gain toughness based on the percentage of your healing power. That's very good. Now he said a reasoning for this was because, if you're a healing class or you're a healing person, you want to play a healing support person, you want to have some toughness. It's not vitality, they're actually giving you toughness based on your healing stat, which is actually very powerful. Next one's going to be a Tranquil Benediction. So the healing orbs that you create while wielding a staff will now grant swiftness and regeneration. So that's pretty good. Healing orbs, with the staff one, that's going to be awesome. I believe that's with the elites as well, and that's going to give you regen and swiftness. So if you put them down on the floor, you can actually give swiftness to people for free. I'm wondering if you get an orb, it stacks. This is 1 second. It's not a lot, Next one we're going to go on to, it's just worth thinking about that because it's very interesting. Eluding Nullification. So dodge rolling removes a condition from nearby allies. Oh, 1 condition removed on a dodge, but his number of targets is 5. Wow. Okay, the radius is quite small, so you have to be very close. But you can dodge roll into someone to remove a condition. That is just epic. Invoking Harmony. So healing done to allies is increased for a short duration after invoking a legend. So when you put in the legend, your effectiveness is increased by 20%. It's 5 seconds. It's not a major thing. That, I think, they may improve because the others are just a little bit better. Dodge, remove a condition, or increase your healing effectiveness of 5 seconds. It's one of those things which, meh. Serene Rejuvenation, increase healing to allies. I don't know what else to say about that. If you're in this line, you're going to get that minor trait. GG. It's great, I guess. You have this trait line. This is what you want to do for healing. You go for that. Next one's going to be Selfless Amplification, so increase outgoing healing based on the percentage of healing power. And it says there, increases per 100 healing power. Okay, 1%, 1.5%. Okay, right, so that's actually quite a lot. So 18% outgoing healing effectiveness is the Selfless Amplification. Okay, so that's quite a lot of extra healing as well. It really boost your healing so much. If you want to be a healing build, you have to go. Salvation and Ventari is just the way you need to go, obviously, with this. Whether or not there's going to be any more heals with this through the actual legend itself, through the other trait lines that are going to be introduced, we'll have to wait and see. Natural Abundance, create energy fragments around Ventari's tablet when using a legendary Centaur stance skill. So you actually get more fragments. This would be very good in terms of synergy with this when you drop the fragments, because you get more fragments and you give more regeneration and swiftness. You give more boons. How awesome is that? And then it's going to be very useful, you know. Especially in big fights in World v World, sPVP, and especially maybe if you need a bit more swiftness, and even in speedrun dungeons. I know you might not have a healing support person, but if you want to get swiftness and move on quite quickly, if they bring in these new dungeons or whatever we think they're going to bring, new challenging content that they've promised, you know, you might want to get, that's a good way to get to your next encounter quite quickly. Okay, people will say we have swiftness elsewhere. So the last one is going to be momentary pacification. Daze nearby foes when using an elite skill. You daze nearby foes when you use an elite skill. There you go. I think that that's not anything major, to be honest, and that probably, you know, they could change that. I mean, I'm not really a fan of that daze for 2 seconds. It doesn't really seem, on top, the daze with the knockback could be quite powerful, and the availability you have of that as well is quite good. So, all in all, pretty impressive from Ventari. I'm going to talk, I'm actually going to make another video, and I'm going to talk about how it's going to be very useful in PvP. This was really just picking out the main bits from the actual points of interest stream and just re-going over them in the way I took them and the way I understood them. I only watched it once, and, you know, maybe I made a couple of mistakes, I don't know, because Roy probably explained a little bit more, but I just wanted to give you this information today very quickly, and I'll put the link of the actual broadcast as well, so you can go back and watch it, and Roy is probably the best one to explain it. He designed it, but at the end of the day, I explained in it as well in terms of PvP and maybe World v World and how maybe it could benefit you. You know, giving your future something bright to look forward to, especially if you're going to be healing. With the Revenant having a taunt as well, in terms of the legendary dwarf stance and being able to taunt people, and that's just, you know, could the Revenant actually, with a staff, be a tank healer? Think about that. Okay, sometimes some people are missing the Holy Trinity. I actually do, because I love being a supportive character. But with the Revenant, with like Ventari and also the Dwarf stance, it's going to be awesome because you can heal and tank in a way, you know. Especially if all you have to worry about is bringing the toughness, and you know, I can't remember, and I'm not an expert in PvE, and I'm pretty sure it used to be that most targets would focus the character with the most toughness. As far as I remember, somebody might want to just, you know, castrate me in chat in comments below for that. But if you've got tons of toughness and you're taunting as well, even more chance of those mobs attacking you. Then you're healing as well as while you're doing the damage to those enemies. If you're on the front line of it, face tanking this thing. You know, it's like anything. It's like PvP as well. You know, if you're face tanking someone, you're giving healing shards on the ground. You're able to taunt those targets to you. You're much tougher to kill. Once you brought them to you, everyone can focus on where you're standing, where you're going to be. And, you know, that's going to be very useful because not only are you tanking them by taunting them towards you, because for 3 seconds they can't use skills. They have to use some kind of break to get out of that taunt. And if they haven't got many, if they've only got like 1 or 2, especially if you're like as an engineer, you can really do a ton of damage to that person, you know. You know where they're going to be. So you look out for that stun break, you think about, you know, that guy being pulled over to you, you knock him, you really do a ton of damage, and also you're going to be healing while you're doing that damage, but the other people in your party are going to be doing that damage. Similar thing maybe for World v World, pardon me, as people move forward into the fight, of course, they can just taunt their foes, have a couple of Revenants in there, maybe 3 or so, taunting these different opponents. You can pick out different targets, even out of this Zerg that's coming towards you from the side or whatever, before you even engage. So you can even take down prime targets before you get involved in the big fight and heal while you're doing it. So I think this is going to be an awesome legend. I'm looking very forward, well, hopefully at some point in actually trying this out, and getting involved with all the stuff that's coming from Heart of Thorns. We've still got tons more stuff to come. If you've enjoyed this video, just let me know below, because loads of people are talking about stuff, and I barely do any news in terms of the legends, the new classes, the new specializations, everything like that. So do you want to see more of it? You know, I released a video yesterday, it got a ton of views. I didn't really advertise it anywhere other than like one Facebook page, and people on my channel seem to like this. So if you did, chuck it a like down below, click that thumbs up. Don't forget to comment as well, let me know what you thought, if I had any wrong misinformation, if I interpreted something wrong as well, just to let other people know as well, and then I can comment on that. And yeah, chuck me a subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching, guys.